Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Chapel. I'm so glad that every week we have this time to meet together, talk, and learn about God. There's no other way to start Chapel off than by playing the national anthem, so I'm going to invite you to stand to your feet as we play O Canada, and please remember to remain standing afterwards because we're moving straight into worship. Let's sing O Canada together. Please remain standing as we move into a time of worship. It's been a while since we've dusted off our theme song, so I thought it was time to bring it back. Let's see if you remember the moves.
Inside out, whoa, whoa, I've got so much going through my head. What's that underneath my bed? Whoa, whoa, hey, 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 I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid.
Please be seated. By now you all likely know what it's time for. That's right, it's time to play a game. Let's see if you've got what it takes to beat the people around you today. Let's do it.
Yes, I'm back. I know they brought me back for another one. Yes, I'm still here. Okay, enough, we've got to get to it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting episode of Will It Float? The game where we take normal, everyday household objects and see how they hold up against water. You ready to play? Let's start with something nice and easy. A granola bar. Delicious, covered in chocolate, and then a plastic wrapping on top. Do you think it's gonna float? Or do you think it's gonna sink? Let's find out. Here we go. It floated! Alright, there's one down. Here comes object number 2. Now we've got a potato chip. Yummy. How do you think this is gonna do? You think it's gonna float or sink? Here we go. Floating, clear as day. That's another one down. Here comes number 3. We've got some dice. 4 of them to be exact. Do you think these are gonna float or do you think they're gonna sink? Let's find out. Ooh, those sank like rocks. Next up, we've got something deliciously cheesy. It is a cheese string. You think a cheese string is gonna float or sink? Let's find out. It sank! It was a little iffy at the moment, but it has decidedly gone down. Next up, something for the campfire. A marshmallow. You think a marshmallow is gonna float or sink? Let's find out. It's floating! Alright! Next up, for those days when you've got a little bit of bad breath, we've got some breath mints. How do you think these are gonna fare? Here we go. Floating wonderfully. Only 2 left. This next one is a crouton for a Caesar salad. You think a crouton's gonna float or sink? Let's find out. That is floating. Did you guess that one right? And last but not least, 5 jelly beans. Do you think the jelly beans are gonna float or sink? Maybe we'll just do 4 jelly beans. How about that? There we go. They sank all the way down to the bottom. Well, that's all the time we have for today. How many of them did you get right? I'll see you guys again real soon for another exciting game.
All right. Well, boys and girls, every month you know that we're learning about a different theme, different things that we can be. This month, we're learning about what it means to be an order discoverer. Over the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about what it means to be an order discoverer. When you're an order discoverer, it means you look for the ways that God has made himself evident in our lives. That's a fancy way of saying when we look around, we can see, ooh, that's something that God did, or, oh, I can see how God designed something like that. The world is a wonderfully complex place. It's full of patterns and rhythms and really cool secrets. We talked last week about the sunrise, how it's something that's constant and always coming. It's something that we can count on, and that's something that God gave us. Today, I want to talk about another part of God's design that we can see. There's a word that scientists sometimes use called intelligent design, and it's a fancy way of saying when we look at the universe, we can look and see that someone really, really smart had to be at the center of it all. Who was that smart person? We believe it's God. Let's take a look at some scientists who also happen to be order discoverers of their own.
As a scientist,
microbiologist,
biochemist,
as a geologist,
neuroscientist,
physician,
biologist, and an engineer,
I think there is overwhelming evidence for intelligent design in nature.
I see intelligent design in the history of life,
in the genetic code of life,
in the molecular machines inside our cells,
in the complexity of life,
in the information embedded in living things,
in the operation of the human brain,
in the features of the human body,
in the chicken and egg causal circularity of life.
As a mathematician, I see great evidence of purpose in the universe.
As a molecular biologist, I see evidence for design everywhere I look, pretty much. Nature is incomprehensible without inference to purpose and to intelligent design.
The properties of the universe as a whole, and our planet in particular, were fine-tuned for our benefit and for our survival.
In my view, the fossil evidence clearly points towards intelligent design.
I see life as designed because when I look at life at the molecular level, I see exquisite engineering.
All cells contain DNA, which include lots of information, and information is only the product of a mind.
Darwin thought living cells were just blobs of jelly. But when I look in a living cell, I see evidence of factories, machines, three-dimensional architectures, enormous amounts of encoded information.
There's power generators, there's manufacturing plants.
Life contains many features that we know from experience only arise from the activity of intelligent agents.
The genetic code is like a software program. It's like somebody would have had to be a coder, would have had to form this particular genetic code. When I see that order and design, I have a really hard time believing that random mutation and natural selection alone can cause the complexity and the diversity we see in life.
When you look at nature at large, what you see is incredible examples of innovation which surpass human technology. Examples include the flight capabilities of a hummingbird, sonar in bats, and greater innovation always implies greater intelligence from a designer.
If you read the message from the molecules, it's really clear. They say clearly, intelligent design, intelligent design, intelligent design is the source of life.
One of the things that I think is so cool about nature is the closer we look, the more evidence we can find for how beautiful and how amazing God really is. All of the different things that are on this planet, the idea that God created all of them blows my mind sometimes. When we look at the world around us, we see a natural order, the way that things happen every single day. It's something that we can count on, it's something that we can learn to understand more and more. But there's a natural order that God has put in place, and then there's something else, a supernatural order, when God steps in and does something totally unexpected. Even so, sometimes it can be hard to be an order discoverer. Sometimes we can look around us and have a hard time seeing God's design. And you know what? There's someone in the Bible who had that exact experience happen to them. Let's take a look at it together. Back when Jesus was still walking around on earth, he had 12 disciples with him. Now, one of his disciples was named Peter. Peter is my personal favorite. Part of that is because I think he's really silly. He made a lot of silly mistakes, but he was a guy who tried really hard to do the right thing. In this story, Jesus had just been preaching to a whole bunch of people. Jesus had been healing people, telling them how to live their lives, and just in general, he had been doing a lot of good for the world. It was getting towards the end of the day, and Jesus told his disciples to get into a boat. Now, he said that he was going to meet them on the other side of a lake. So they were all going to get into the boat and they were going to sail to the other side. While they were sailing, Jesus went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. That night, a massive storm hit. There was wind, there were waves, there was rain, there was lightning. It was a horrible, horrible storm. And the Bible says that the disciples were scared for their lives. They thought this might be their last night on earth. That's how bad this storm was. Now, in the book of Matthew, it says this about this story. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost!" they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." This is where, in my opinion, Peter gets a little silly. "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. So Peter has just presented an opportunity for himself to do something crazy. He has told Jesus to ask him to come out onto the water. And Jesus did it. Jesus said, "Come." Now, if I were Peter, I probably wouldn't have asked that question in the first place, but here we are. So Peter got down out of the boat, and he walked on the water, and he came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" One of the things I love about this story is how it is 100% not the natural order of things. Storms are something natural. We can actually start to predict when those are going to happen. The weatherman can tell you, hey, there's a big storm coming. That's something natural. But Jesus walking on the water, that is supernatural. That's something you can't predict. You can't see something like that coming. Sometimes when there are storms or difficult things in our lives, it can be difficult to see the order. It can be difficult to be an order discoverer. But you know what? As long as Peter kept his eyes right on Jesus, he was able to walk closer and closer to him. It's only when he got distracted by the wind and the waves that he started to sink. In the same way as order discoverers, when we have a hard time finding the order, all we need to do is keep our eyes on Jesus. There's a Bible verse that I'd like to read to you. This is what it says. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. It's that last part of the verse that I want to show for you. It says, in all your ways acknowledge him. So make God obvious in everything that you do. And when that happens, he will make your path straight. You might feel like you're on a bit of a weird path. Maybe you don't know what's going to happen next, or you feel like the steps that you've taken so far are a little bit weird. But when we trust in the Lord with all our heart, he makes our paths straight. When we look back after a life of trusting God, we can see the order that God put into it, even if we don't see it right away. We've got time for one more worship song, so I'm going to invite you to rise to your feet as we sing one more song together.
When my world feels like it's shaking, when my heart feels like it's breaking, walking over waves can be hard to do. Take my hand, you're the hero, Jesus. You're the one who never leaves us. Whatever comes my
that's all the time we have for today. Let's remember our verse for the year. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Bye everyone. I'll see you very soon.